Wildwood Cemetery in Williamsport, PA. It's a huge cemetery separated by Wildwood Boulevard, which goes right down the center of it. It was founded in 1863 and is about 340 acres. So I'm going to make some video here and go and check it out, talk a little bit about the history of it and a lot of the old, just basic mausoleums and things that you don't see, sort of monuments you don't see being built lately, you know, for interment in this day and age. So. You know, Wildwood Cemetery has a labyrinth of roads going through it. They're usually narrow, they're very old, obviously, and some of them need a lot of work, like a lot of things, but it's a pretty daunting task to, maintenance-wise, to keep a place of this size up, especially a cemetery. This is Wildwood Boulevard that separates the two halves of the cemetery. There's the terracotta roofed, sort of neoclassic Gothic cemetery offices. So I haven't even gone out very far. This is just like the first tier of this side of the cemetery, which I guess would be the east side. I don't know. I don't know compass. Or north side or south, I don't know. But I'm on the one side. On the side one of my, or a couple of my ancestors are buried on this side. This is one of the mausoleums. There's a bunch of them throughout this whole, throughout the grounds. They're very elaborate, and of course only, you know, affluent people of affluence get interned in one of these. They have these big steel, whatever iron steel doors, something out of Game of Thrones. And there's a lock. I guess you'll find that in the Wildwood Cemetery's offices, I guess, for the family if they want to have somebody else's remains interred here. And there's a couple dozen of them at least. They're out here, and we'll go check out some more of those and maybe see if the place is a little haunted. This is like a major intersection in Williamsport Cemetery. It's one of the most notable ones. Just a lot of arteries connect here, and different small roads going through the cemetery. And one of the founders is buried like over there. Several elaborate mausoleums right in this section, obviously. It's the inner part of the cemetery, probably like a lot of older tombstones and grave sites and everything for people who died over a century ago. This is the grave of Peter Hurdick, who helped build Williamsport. I can't even tell where he died. March 2nd, 1888. He was born in 1824. But that's it's hard to see because it's a dark stone. And there's in this case the letter has, but he died penniless. I think he slipped on the ice or something, and he kind of won. He got to be mayor of Williamsport, but he bribed citizens by putting money under their beer or something like that. The way rich people get votes in America, so that's basically how you do it. Because money runs everything until you don't have any of it. And actually people took up a collection, donations or whatever, to put this tombstone up, which was done in more recent years. I'm not sure when, but it's not like a real old-timey tombstone from the 1800s. But he's one of the people that founded it. It was also Robert Ferries, John M. McMinn, William Armstrong, and a guy named George White. I have no idea who any of these people are, but in relationship to Williamsport's prominent past. But yeah, this is where Peter Hurdick is buried. I actually worked in the restaurant where he used to be his house, his mansion or whatever, on 4th Street in Williamsport. It's a restaurant now. All right, so let's go explore the rest of this cemetery. This is another site at the main, sort of this big intersection area. It's this elaborate sort of granite or whatever kind of stone that is, and gated in family burial plot. Obviously really old. One of them dates back to 1944. Looks like 1944. So after World War II. It looks like a lot of these people were laid to rest here. And there's some weird basin thing in the middle. I've seen this before many times. I've noticed it. And there's, at the end, there's one that looks like a tree trunk with something inscripted on it, and there's a big thing in the middle. It's like a big tombstone. That connects all these. See, these are big steel piping that goes around, being held up with these huge stone pillars, which is pretty elaborate. So I actually thought this was a cool idea, at least aesthetically. I mean, yeah, it's pretty. This one's pretty cool. And there's another. You'll find no shortage of these up here. There's. Not sure when they stopped building these. I know they don't build them. That's from 1907. So this was like maybe a turn of the century trend. Building these things to show that, hey, look, we have money. Because not that it still isn't a thing in this country, but. The top of it's kind of domed. You can't really see it, but it looks like a planetarium or whatever they call it. Where they keep the big telescope. The planetarium. Observatory, that's what I was looking for. And there's a statue over here with a bust of this guy. I'll show it in a second. There's this bust inside of this giant family marker of this optograph fellow who's someone of prominence a long time ago. I have no idea who he is, but it's quite a distinguishing profile. That would be eerie to see myself in statue after I'm dead. Not that I would have the opportunity to see that. Just gives you an idea of how big some of these mausoleums are in Wildwood Cemetery. There's so many of them, and it's just people don't build stuff like this anymore, statues. Usually when they have a tombstone, or have a monument ordered for their deceased loved one. But if you're super rich, this is how you went out in style. This looks like some freaking. This looks like something out of True Blood, like literally, if you watch that show, making a True Blood reference in a documentary about a cemetery in Williamsport. But yeah, it reminds me of one of the vampire monarchs' homes or lairs. That's what it looks like. And again, it's just this wrought iron steel. This is from 1902. And there's just old chains and big old padlocks on it. So yeah, that's just really, if anybody's like, goth people are into this kind of shit, or steampunk Victorian, whatever aesthetic that you like, Wildwood Cemetery is probably a place you would mind visiting, I guess. Anyway, let's go check out a few other some of these other places and a few other notable sites in Waltham. And there's Quiggle, which is the name of the little borough village me and my family live in, Quiggleville. I don't know if that's any relation, but... And Curry, which goes good with Indian food. Or Ann Curry, former Today Show hostess. This is the Civil War Memorial part of the cemetery. It's one of them anyway. It's the most prominent. It's in a circle, and there's a statue in the middle of it. And there's just a lot of little tombstones. They have their names on it. It's not like they're unknown, at least for the most part. And they just put a bunch of flags out, so that's cool. I have my EMF detector, and I'm going to see if I can detect any spirits, so hey, let's check it out. Never really nothing seems to set this off with power lines or any other various electronic devices. But yeah, this is been here for since the 1860s. The cemetery was established in 1863, so the Civil War wasn't quite over yet. If my history dropped a cue card, if my history serves me correctly, but what do I remember about history class, for that matter? But anyway, we're going to go on to the other side and check out the other half of Wildwood, the other side of Wildwood Boulevard, and show you some of the unusual and interesting sites. I don't think there's as many mausoleums over there. I think that's a little bit of a newer side.
This is my grandparents' grave. My Nan and my Pop. I was just up here not long ago because they messed everything up because they got all kinds of, in this new burial plot, they got hay all over it and all that kind of shit. So yeah, but it looks nice now. Parents just put some pussy willows in their flower vase. So this is the other side of Wildwood Cemetery. This is a big sort of Bible monument. I don't know if this was made for this whole, section of the cemetery, or this whole cemetery, or the family who was buried in this general area had it put up. It'd be pretty expensive to have something like that made, basically. Giant stone. Looks like a fucking meteor rock. Sorry, I didn't mean to use swear bombs. But yeah, this part's like steel. And then obviously they didn't chisel that out of rock. But yeah, there's big giant rock being held up by 3 other big rocks. But these are like newer. So there's not as many elaborate, huge monuments or mausoleums. There's a few mausoleums over here, but this side was the expansion side of the cemetery. This is where my great-grandparents are buried. On my dad's side. My dad's named George and my aunt's named Anne. And I remember my great-grandmother's funeral. It was 1979, and I was 3 or 4. It's probably, I was like about 4-ish. Maybe going on 5, I don't know. I do remember her though. Earliest memories, but surprised I was able to find this. It's just huge. If I haven't been up here for a while, it's difficult to find the same spot. Yeah, my grandparents on my mom's side, where I just was, and showed that, that's on the other side of Wildwood Boulevard. This is the just top of the one side of Wildwood Cemetery. There's nothing up here. Obviously, it's just a road. It's just a big turnaround. It kind of spirals up. And I was going to fly the drone up here, but I had problems with it on the other side, and it's even windier up here, so there's no way I'd be able to even keep it stable. footage. And we just wind up in a tree. So anyway, that's not that that matters. That's irrelevant. But yeah, otherwise I would have tried to. But this is basically a lot of the cemetery you can see through the trees. These eerie trees are all cut up. Ugh. Now that looks spooky. But yeah, quite a view. It kind of sees over the other half of the, doesn't really look over the other half of the cemetery, at least I can't see it, but it's just the other side to the main road. Gorgeous day out nonetheless. Gorgeous day out to take your family out on a ride in a new Subaru. I don't even know what was their slogan. Love or some bullshit. I don't even have a family. I had a fiance and we drove around in this Subaru. And then she dumped me out of the blue after 10 years. Subaru. For lonely middle-aged singles who make YouTube documentaries when they're empty and bored. That's up top here. Alright, we'll check out one more thing and then we'll leave. It's time to depart. And this is one of the features of, or one of the prominent monuments on the other side of Wildwood Cemetery. And this is marks the LeMaid family's burial plot, basically. Well, this is actually the Dietrich LeMaid and Clara. And it's like a vampire's buried there. No, I met one of them once, and they're about as friendly as about as cold as a vampire, anyway. Yeah, right. But this is a pretty cool looking, sort of marble gazebo or whatever you want to call it. And this is obviously something they don't make. These were made. This was built back in the 20s, so and due to the time of death. Well, one of them was it was built in the 20s. And there's a couple other, like bigger monuments down here towards the lower end of the newer developed part of the cemetery. Yeah, I mean, for being here on a nice day and everything, it's not as creepy or eerie or anything like that. But when it's raining or it's around dusk, it definitely takes that on a bit. That sort of ominous vibe, But anyway, I think that's about going to wrap it up. As far as Wildwood Cemetery goes, that's about all I can think of to say about it. But it is a pretty cool place to visit, even if you don't have any loved ones here to visit.